Start. Good morning to everyone, and we are going to present the progress in the health surveillance showcase as part of the E-Shape effort. I have 3 slides just to introduce the 3 pilots, but overall the objectives of the showcase is to bring in E-Shape, all the work that we are carrying out in EraPlanet, and specifically in 4 funded projects of EraPlanet, that is MERPS, Gerasopoulos, iGOSP, and iCube. Our goal is to demonstrate through selected pilots the potential of Earth observation and the geospatial information to advance the UN 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development and support the implementation of the Minamata and Stockholm Convention that are related to mercury global pollution and POPs global pollution. The aim is also to support the integration of one flagship in Geo flagship on global mercury observation system and the Geo initiatives on POPs observation system. To implement our goal is to implement 3 pilots, so we are working on 3 pilots. The first one is related to the Minamata Convention. The second one is related to the Stockholm Convention. And the third one is related to air pollution in urban area, all health-related risks associated to exposure of people to urban environment. The first pilot is coordinated by Sergio Cinnirella from CNR, and the participating organization are the University of Calabria and the Helmut Center in Hamburg. The potential users that we cooperate with almost on daily basis is the Secretariat and all interested party of the Minamata Convention, and also the ad hoc group on effectiveness evaluation, as well as also the long-range transport of air pollution convention that is part of the UNECE. So the expected user community are the parties to the convention, a number of policymakers that may act on global scale, but also at the national scale, governments, state and regional authorities, industry, IGOs, NGO, and also, very important, the scientific community. So the scope is to implement the knowledge hub developed in the Geo flagship on Mercury and test all the tools that we have been developing as part of the knowledge hub. So Sergio will provide you a more detailed information. The second pilot is coordinated by Jana from Masaryk University. Today will be presented by Kateřina, Šebková. And the participating organization is the National Observatory of Athens in Greece, with Evangelos as a focal point. The potential users are the Secretariat and parties to the Stockholm Convention, Basel Convention, Rotterdam, and the Long-Range Transport of Air Pollution Convention as part of the UNECE. But also, as in the pilot 1, we have a number of policymakers at different levels, governments, state and regional authority, industries, and the scientific community, IGOs, and the NGO. So the scope is really to track and monitor temporal and spatial changes of POPs in the global environment and develop advanced web services to support the policy process. So to help parties to identify cost-effective strategy to lower the exposure to these persistent contaminants. The third pilot is coordinated by NOAA in Athens by Evangelos and Gerasopoulos, and the participating organization are CNR, DLR, FMI, YASA. The user, well, there are a number of users here. Is very, when we talk about urban pollution, involves a lot of actors, a lot of institutions, but Region of Attica, Minister of Environment and Energy of Hellenic Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Sustainable City Networks, about 35 municipalities, in Greece, Hellenic Statistical Authority, Environmental Services Authority, and so on. So there are many users. So that was my briefing to introduce the session. So we will allow 10-12 minutes for each speaker, and then we will have time also for after the 3 talks from the 3 coordinators of the pilot to have some discussion on the outcome and progress of these 3 pilots. Please, Sergio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nicola. I will start my screen. So you should see my screen now.
Yes.
I will present Pilot 1, which is mostly based on a contribution to the Global Observation Mercury System for Mercury Knowledge Hub.
Sorry, Sergio. I don't know if it's my problem, but I don't see very well your screen. It's like cutting off.
The same for us, Nicola. Hello, everybody.
Hi,
hello.
So something
Evangelos.
is going on in this visualization.
Do you see
only half screen, half of your slide? Yeah, it's cutting all the right side of the slide.
So what I can do is
yeah, just keep like this.
Yeah, I keep this. So my presentation is on Pilot 1, which is titled Earth Observation-Based Surveillance for Mercury Pollution. That is a contribution to the development of the knowledge hub of the Global Observation System for Mercury. I have a big team behind me. Behind us, we have a big team. Francesco D'Amore and Francesco De Simone are the key guys that work on this, which is the framework in which we are working. We should provide somehow an integrated user-oriented tools to interested parties to assess the effectiveness evaluation of the Minamata Convention on Mercury. So the Minamata was started a few years ago and now is launching his implementation. The first one is the first thing to do when doing an implementation is programming the effectiveness evaluation of the convention. So we should provide some tools to parties to do this assessment. The main characteristics of the pilot are that the pilot is strongly connected with the GEO in terms of data sharing principle, in terms of service providing, and so on. It's very specific in terms of co-design because we are having a long interaction with both the UN Environment Program through the Global Mercury Partnership and the Minamata Convention through the participation to the ad hoc groups. The tool we will provide is not for profit. This is very different things from other tools that are developing in shape. And another important point is that when we think to the tool that we will provide, there is a long pre-processing activity behind. So along the implementation, we have done since May 2019, 3 assessments. The first one is on co-design. We have done a Sprint 1 assessment. We have done a few days ago the sustainability assessment. So to develop the tool, we selected 3 challenges. The first one was completed, so I will focus on this challenge. That is to demonstrate how we can exploit the wealth of data made available through GEOS. Deco design, as I said, is very particular in this case, because needs a strong relationship with policymakers. So we are preparing a manuscript on how we can we have approached the co-design under the Minamata Convention of Mercury, on how we provide inside the development of this tool all the experience in this context. So we have a continuous co-design by participating to the Global Mercury Partnership Advisory Group, and through the participation to the Technical Expert Group on Effectiveness Evaluation of the Minamata Convention. Regarding the Sprint 1 assessment, we selected 4 challenges. The first one was completed, and we prepared a paper published in Atmosphere. We prepared a document submitted to the eShape platform. The first one, the number 4 challenge, was aimed to demonstrate the wealth of data. So we described in this paper and in the document how the methodology used to implement the showcase. Now we are working on challenge number 9, which is the increase of number of user communities, and this will be completed by integrating different run-off model. I will explain something a little bit later on this. And the third assessment we have made is on sustainability of our application. As I said, this is a non-profit tool application, but we have made this interview and provided a few inputs to work package 5 that is doing this assessment. So challenge number 9. With the contribution of Helmut Zentrum, that is working on satellite observation, we run our model to provide scenarios, because the tool we will provide will use mainly deposition scenarios of Mercury that are obtained by running models. Models are filled by in situ measurement and by satellite observation that are not directly related to Mercury, but participate to Mercury, that are measurement that contribute to Mercury reaction. So we use different emission databases, and this is the user uptake part. We will use different model. Actually, we have run one databases with one model and produced a number of scenarios that feed a biogeochemical model. The objective is to obtain information on mercury in the trophic net. We run the models. Everything has been cataloged and shared through our catalog. Is shared through the GEOS portal. We have a community portal that can be reached. But another additional thing that we are looking to is to integrate the activity on terminology made by University of Calabria on terminology on mercury, because there is a long list of words that can lead to confusion. So we are working on this review. They are working on this review, and finally the review will feed the catalog. The last two slides regards the current tool that can be reached directly to the goose4m.eu portal. This is an online tool that, as you can see, enable the user to select an inventory. I don't put many words on this, but the selection to provide different inventories and different models is related to the uncertainty. If some of you need something more, I can explain later. The tool has a bar that can enable selection of deposition scenario for different regions. Finally, the output is over land and over ocean, and we are now implementing the biogeochemical model. So, thank you, Nicola. I can leave the floor to question, maybe now or later.
Thank you, Sergio. Yeah, just to close this up, the tool is available online, so everyone can play with that. And of course, now we are going to expand the number of models made available by the Knowledge Hub. And we just had the meeting of the flagship 2 weeks ago, and so everything will be powered now with a lot of contributions. So this will be a great benefit for eShape in order to show the progress in this pilot. But let's discuss this later. So the next speaker is Katka Šebková, talking about persistent organic pollutant pilot. Please, Katka.
Thank you, Nicola. I hope you can hear me, and I will try to share my screen. Please, if this doesn't work, Evangelos can start first, because sometimes it's getting crazy. About sharing, but still doesn't seem to be.
Katka, I don't hear your microphone. Maybe it's very low.
We will try to help Ms. Šebková. You can move on to the next speaker, and we will go again to Ms. Šebková.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me now.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, you can hear me now, but I have some troubles in sharing my screen. So if you can go to Evangelos, it will be easier. Thank you.
Yeah, Katka, meanwhile, you can send me your presentation.
Yes, I will do. Thanks. Yes, I will. Thanks, Sergio.
So Evangelos, can you share and start your presentation?
Nicolas, Sergio, you want me to take over?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Let's see if I'm able to share. Just let me know when you can see my screen and if it is full screen.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, now this is presenting mode, still okay?
Yeah, fine.
Looks fine. Okay, good. Okay, hello everybody, morning. I'm going to present you the third pilot in Showcase 2, entitled Earth Observation-Based Pollution Health Risks Profiling in the Urban Environment. In this pilot, our intention has been to combine air quality data with health data and other data relevant to urban planning in order to create an integrated service. How do we plan to do this? By focusing in different geographical and temporal scales and using Earth observation tools to address issues with respect to air pollution, providing information from global and going down to the regional and to the local city scale, and combining this information with local health indicators and other socioeconomic data. In order to have this service very relevant for local stakeholders, we have incorporated different type of demonstrations in pilot cities, which I will present you in the next slides. And the overall outcome of this pilot is a platform which will be combining different Earth observation assets and platforms, data platforms, together with health and socioeconomic data at the global or local scale in order to improve decision-making in the relevant areas and assist effective health risk reduction. As I've already told you, we go from global to local. And when talking about global, we are exploiting in our pilot data from satellites, from Copernicus mainly, Sentinel-5P, combine it with modeling. And from global, we go to regional scales, talking about CAMS data, which we use per se, but also as input for our other modeling activities within the pilot. And then we go even further down to the city scale level by applying city scale modeling, which goes down to 100 by 100 meter resolutions. And of course, we incorporate also in situ information in some of those pilots that we are talking about. And the temporal scale of the pilot is runs from past by showing out time series of some of this information that we are compiling to current information or even projections for the future. Going now to the platform. We have tried, and now we are in the process and we are finalizing the development of our storyboards. So each of the cities involved in our pilot is creating a storyboard, the story that it wants to tell to its audience or to its own city stakeholders with respect to the linkages between health and air quality. And there is an overall umbrella, which is the global service. So in the pilots, we have Athens and Greece. We have Helsinki and Porvoo from Finland, Vienna, Austria, and Munich, Germany. And lately, we are also discussing with an additional city, from Italy to give some new specific perspectives in this platform that I will explain to you later on. So what is the global service going to be about? The global service is based, it will be technically based upon the urban thematic exploitation platform, the UTEP, and will be presenting time series of air quality information, mainly NO2, nitrogen dioxide from Sentinel-5P for hundreds of cities around the globe, and will be combined with socioeconomic data like population density for those cities, and most probably derivation will include the derivation of an air quality index. This service exploits upon the outcomes from next geos, and it will be a service on demand platform to be further supported by statistical tools that are either way provided by the urban thematic. So in the platform, the first thing you see is the globe and information for hundreds of cities around the globe that you can access this information by clicking on the cities. Then some of the cities will be highlighted in a different way to imply that there is further information or further direction or further data, additional data to what is globally provided. So for example, we will have the Athens service component in which we exploit CAMP's regional emissions, and through a methodology that we have built together with HZJ within SMEPS, we deliver high resolution emission inventories for the cities, 1 by 1 kilometer. Then with the use of these inventories and meteorological inputs, we apply a city scale model, episode CityChem we call it. And again, this has been validated for Athens within SMEPS products. And the outcome of this is pollutant concentrations, a number of pollutants in a 100 by 100 meters resolutions, which will be further evaluated using in situ monitoring data from our regulatory networks in Athens or NOAA's networks. This information will be disaggregated at the municipality level to make it more relevant for decision making, and will be supported with additional layers with respect to health and other socioeconomic data. And the intention is also to deliver dynamic population exposure of people, taking also into account commuting activities to works, etc. The second component is the one coming from Finnish cities, delivered by FMI. It's already being applied, and there is a pre-platform to host this information for several cities in Finland. And the idea is to exploit in high resolution, higher than the raw data that you get from Sentinel-5P, NO2 data, combine it with the position of the industries around the cities, and delivering reports of how the pollution from the industry impacts the cities. So it has a different story to tell compared to Athens, which is the combination of the different data platforms. Then we move to the Vienna pilot case. Here the idea is to raise awareness about the potential future role that citizens should play also in the field of air quality and health. So there is going to be a campaign organized. This was planned for 2020, but due to the COVID-19 conditions, this has been postponed. So now we envisage to make it happen sometime in spring 21. It is based on a previous application coming from IASA, which has been adjusted accordingly for reshape to host the needs for the air quality and health application, which will also include the perception of citizens of the situation or of their health conditions. Then we are having the pilot in Munich. In Munich, again, there will be a combination of satellite data with socioeconomic data coming from the world settlement footprint, like, for example, the imperviousness population density, and also combination with other high-resolution models that the colleagues in Germany are operating and running. And the idea is first to deliver at specific also local administration units the aggregated health risk information for Munich, some trend analysis, and most importantly, this is going to be compared with the satellite data that we have at the horizon, at the global service, as a test bed of how well the global service can really capture, you know, the assets of a city. So Munich will be the test bed for this comparison. Lastly, as I already told you, we have Bari and Calabria probably coming in as a new add-ons in this in our pilots, giving more emphasis with respect to air quality partners and human settlements and where migrants or other sensitive population lives. This we will further refine in the coming days with our colleagues from CNR. So, state of the art in our pilot. The state of the art and our vision is that this platform will deliver a modular service. So apart from the global service, which may be improving from time to time, we would like, on top of those 5 cities, pilot cities, but other cities which have a different unique characteristic or a different unique story to tell can join in and deliver their data and get hosted in these platforms. Then one of the state-of-the-art things that we are trying to do in this is that at the same time we are trying to spread the word of the use of EO in this domain, and not only satellite data, but how can we enable the infusion of satellite within situ and model data between them, and then on top start incorporating auxiliary data that up to now have not yet been quite exploited in geo, like health data or other socioeconomic data. We are going from global to city scale, so it is really unique the fact that at the end we are going to deliver services at 100 by 100 resolution, which make it really relevant for city scale decision making. And then on top of this, we are also highlighting the role of citizens by having also pilots where crowdsourced data play the major role. Also from the satellite's perspective, apart from the global NO2 service, the Finland pilots will be demonstrating a methodology where you know, the fields are downscaled to much higher resolution, 1 by 1 kilometer, and this is also one of the unique things that we would like to promote through our pilot. Future steps. Now we had a few days ago a discussion between the different partners in the pilot, and we would like to start combining the different service components. So we opened the discussion and we found out that other cities are interested of what we are doing in Athens, and we are interested of what they are doing in their cities, and there have been, you know, much interest to exchange knowledge and expertise and somehow make universal some of the ideas that we have for specific pilots. So now we are thinking that this high resolution emission inventory, we could also apply in Italy, in Austria, or in Finland. Then this high resolution satellite NO2 information could also be produced for other cities in excess to Finland, etc., etc. And this has been a very good experience for us, because I think at the end, this is the meaning that we produce synergies that, you know, gives added value to the individual attempts that we are doing here. We are in the process, as I told you, of onboarding additional cities to be included in the service, like, for example, Bari and Calabria. And there have been very many individual contacts with stakeholders at the different cities. The feedback is gathered, and all partners are trying to adjust their services accordingly. In Athens, we had 1 month or so ago the official workshop for Athens, which gathered more than 20 people from 5-6 stakeholders, including ministers, etc. We are already in the process of having the next follow-up meetings here with the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Environment. Actually, that's going to be next week some time. So we are moving forward. And for November, we have already scheduled the sustainability assessment that already Sergio talked about in pilot 1. Other than that, progress is being done in different paces for the different pilots. We are facing a problem of, let's say, a decision, but also a technical problem on how to move towards developing one unique platform. We don't want, currently the different services, components of the services are in different platforms. The UTEP, the Athens platform, the Finnish platform, etc., etc. So we are trying to find out, because it has not been, clear up to now how we could draw these resources from eSafe. We are trying to figure out how we move to one platform, because this is a difficult task. And apart from the pilot level, we would like also at the showcase level to discuss upon this and find a solution within eSafe. And I think with this final message, that's all from my side, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Evangelos. Now I can share my screen to enable the presentation of Katka.
Are you ready, Katka?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Very well.
Okay,
excellent. So thank you very much. We will, on behalf.
Yeah, okay, please go.
Yes, I can see it well, and I hope that other people can see it also. So regarding the presentation that we have.
Please put it on presentation mode.
Sergio, do you think you can put it on presentation?
Perfect.
We don't. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, so the next, if you can go to the next slide, the Masaryk University is the team that is supporting this Showcase to Pilot 2 on POPs pollution surveillance, and this is our team. So Jana Klanova in the lead, myself, and Richard, who is in charge of the IT team developing the background. If you can go further, I can speak also a little bit more, because our pilot is similar to the Mercury pilot, which was presented by Sergio earlier, that it is a tool that is support decision-making for the global convention, for the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants, to provide availability and quality of information on levels and trends globally. So if we can go a bit further, there are specific tasks on the next slide, please. There are specific tasks that say we need, of course, to develop a tool. We need to work with users and also data providers to increase spatial coverage, data quality, comparability, and accessibility, and also develop advanced services for support of decision-making and policy mandate of the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants to make really chemicals management and disease health control and decision-making available. So next slide. This pilot is also slightly different from those that we have seen through other pilots, because this is really serving to the global decision-making. It is also already, a previous version existed since 2012, and it was updated in 2014. But because the convention is very different and it's dynamic, we of course need to update it more often. So through the eShape project, we were preparing another quite extensive update that required increase in the core media, inclusion of additional data, but also adaptation to the work of the global coordination group in preparation of the regional reports that will be approved by the political level. And of course, this tool, which we call GMP Data Warehouse, is also linked to GEO initiative GOS4POPs. So there we are also spreading the potential data use and awareness of the tool itself. So if we move a bit further on the next slide, please. Our background is that our readiness it's ready, but the updated work is through the procedure of data flow and data approval is currently restricted to experts only, and public release is expected in 2021. And our users are not only the secretariats of the Basel, Rotterdam and Stockholm Convention, then we have also long-range transboundary air pollution convention, but we also have governments, state and regional authorities, any experts that are interested in persistent organic pollutants, monitoring and looking at also modeling, looking at different trends and levels and changes over time. So if we can move further to the next slide, we can describe our results, because what we have really been doing over the last 2 years, it was we were trying to make sure that we can merge more data, we can engage more users, and also we were developing tools to provide more services to our users, such as, for example, regional summaries, and of course we have worked on a quite extensive user feedback. So what we have done in principle, primarily, it was really harmonization of tools, coding of data, and new chemicals, so that we really can achieve harmonization of data inputs and also outputs. And we've interacted with users in a series of about 10 different meetings in the last 16 months. So for the next slide, if we can go and see the data continuity. So as you can see, we have really quite complex flow of inputs. We need also, because the data comes in different granularities, so we need to make sure that these data, when they are used in the tool and is showcased in the visualization platform, that what we are showcasing is really comparable. So this is really a complex situation that we have to work with. Next slide, please. So what we have developed, and this is what we have results, and we've given details earlier this week in live demo on Monday. So we have, for the, let's say, internal management and background of data imports, of data analysis, of really making sure that we have data flow, we have data management console that is available to our data analysts, IT colleagues, also available, not available, but responsible expert and regional organization groups for approval management. And then we have data visualizations, which currently, as I said, are still under restriction. They are not yet open to public, but they will be, and I will show you the modules that we have embedded. So that's the bottom right of the slide, where you can see screen with the map and a lot of colorful dots. So that's that showcases the spatial distribution module. So I will now go very briefly, basically a few seconds on each different module to show you what we have done. So Sergio, if we can move on, please. So yeah, but before we do that, we have the different installations because the user rights are different for the approval process. The African data can only be approved by African experts, so it shouldn't be anybody else, you know, really interfering with that. So we had to make sure that the visualization platform, as well as the data management console, is really following these different user rights and settings that are there. And then the visualization platforms are updated every hour or so in case there are new data coming that we see it immediately. So next slide, please. So what we have embedded is the 5 different modules. So we have spatial distribution module, where we have on the top left, we have data filter, where we are selecting, and then you can of course come closer to the screen, can increase the size of the map to see the more details about the spatial distribution of your sites in the different core matrices. Next slide, please. Then we have several views that speak about data availability. So we can immediately see what site is available, which chemicals. So if you can click more, Sergio, then we have on matrices. Here we have on chemicals. The next slide, I think, will show you the time series. Yes, so the colorful dots show us for which years we have data available on a particular site. The next slide, I think, shows us the how many parameters are available on each site. So this really changes over time. And the next slide shows us the visualization of summary statistics, because of course the main objective of this tool is to provide time series changes, be able to make comparison of different places in the world and so on. So statistic module shows us the current situation in different years, but we can also see on the next slide a more detailed view, which really shows us the trend. And we can use the map and see by clicking on the trend map on a particular site, we see immediately what is the course of concentrations on a particular site. So that's a trend analysis module building on the summary statistics. And the next slide will also take us to the individual details of each site, where we really can see the trend evaluation, description, and also some characteristics that you can also download. So, and the final module that we have embedded is also a trend summary that really gives an immediate overview for each chemical. Finally, the final final module that we have in the tool is the export module that allows different ways how we can export data, so that we can either export all data, we can also export only the monitoring network summaries, we can export also the chemical or data analysis summaries. So anything that can be used in the report and analyzed further or discussed and interpreted on what we see in the real time in the situation, what is the state of the art. So if we move on, and I think that there will be one last slide that I have for you. So what we have achieved, we have participated also in Sprint 1 with 3 challenges. There was a challenge regarding the scope of our services and expansion of users. And then there is also a challenge number 7 on which we are still currently ongoing, and that's about really using the geo principles. So we have achieved quite a lot in Sprint participation. We are also involved in the work package 4 on the maturity index. I think that we will have our sustainability discussions call is scheduled for the next week. But what you can see, our plans for the next year. So what we have really in our pocket now is the preparation of the global release of the tool for all users. We also will have several meetings that we need to take part in to make sure that we spread the word about the updated tool and to enhance its visibility and use among different communities. And the tool will be also heavily used in working with experts on the global report on persistent organic pollutants. And of course, all this is also need to feed into GOS4POP's Geo initiative, which has been recently reviewed. And we also hope that we can work on further on the interactions with other Geo initiatives, such as GOS4Health. And then we might also propose some further community activities in that relation. So I think this is all from us now, and apologies for technical difficulties. And thank you very much, Sergio, for helping us out. So back to Sergio or Nicola. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Katka. Thank you to all the speakers. And since we have, about 40 minutes, so we can get questions, we can discuss, how we can integrate additional information. Any suggestion from the audience is much welcomed. And certainly the three pilots have a lot going on, and they have a very good interaction with the policymakers, which is the goal of the showcase, is really to shape, first of all, a methodology and for co-design, and then the interaction with the policymaker is the key in order to get the basic information on how to shape a policy scenario and how to fulfill the requirement of the end users in this respect. So I would open the floor to any questions that if you want to intervene, just raise your hand and you can take the floor. And I don't see any.
All participants can open their
hands.
microphones and ask you any question they have.
If the speaker would like to integrate what has been said, in case there are questions, topics or aspects that you would like to, integrate in the information that you already provided. And
maybe a general question to all the speakers.
Yeah.
Hi, Nicolas. This is Thierry speaking.
Yes.
In the future, we are going to work on the user uptake.
Yeah.
So there is some of them that are very restricted in terms of potential new users. But I would like to have your feedback on how to improve this user uptake. I saw a very interesting thing in the different pilots, and it seems to me that there is room for that.
Yes, I can comment on this because that is a big challenge, because sometimes we do not consider that when you interact with the end users, policymakers, for example, at least I can talk about what I'm personally involved with the Minamata Convention. It's not straightforward that the policymaker take on board your tool and your offer to provide technical support, to provide technology, to provide. Of course, if you are part of the expert group, you bring in the knowledge and so forth. But then countries, they always keep, a distinction between a requirement and what is offered. So because I think this is the challenge for GEO in general in the next few years, is really to cope with the policy process in order to be accepted as a program that applies, for all the programs that are contributing to GEO, like eShape, is really to accept GEO and the product that developed in GEO and the related project as Earth observation product that can have been validated, that the quality has been cross-checked, and the policymaker can feel comfortable in using it. So it's a quite complex process that requires a lot of time and interaction. And just what Katka was showing, all the work that they do for the Stockholm Convention in cooperation with a lot of partners and policymaker, the same applies for the pilot on Mercury, the pilot one, and with the Minamata in the expert evaluation group and a number of working groups and partnership. So it's not what I'd like to point out, that we need to spend more attention on what is meaning the interaction with the end users, with the Ministry of Environment, for example, at the national scale. You need to get accredited, you need to show them. But even the fact that they can even spend time to listen to you, what you are telling them what you would like to show them is already a big success, because it's not obvious that they are waiting to get your feedback. It's not obvious that they are open to accept the outcome of research for policymaking process. You know, we don't have to give for granted the fact that the policymakers are looking to get our support. So that is the big effort. Even you develop a beautiful knowledge hub, so this must be accepted. And that is the challenge, I think, for eShape, for all the pilots, and for GEO in general, you know, that we need to reinforce really the interaction. I don't know, you know, I asked Katka, Evangelos, Sergio to bring their own views on this specific aspect.
Nicola, if I may to intervene, thank you. On the really working with users, in our case, I think similarly, it's not only about policymakers, but I think it's more important also to enlarge it to the expert community, to modelers in particular, and that's really where it plays the high importance is really making sure that the linkage to GEO, for example, and making sure that the modeling communities are also aware of the tools that we have prepared, and they are, you know, that they understand the way how we have organized the data flow, the data input, and what we have done. So I think there GEO really plays a big role. But I would like to really, if I can, through you, to ask question to Evangelos when he was asking about that we should, as a showcase on health, just to think about, you know, what is the choice of platform, because, for example, for us, we can't really choose platform deliberately. We have a tool that we have been mandated to work on for the Stockholm Convention, and we can't change it. We can't change the platform itself. But did you mean, Evangelos, did you mean that we should enhance the visibility of the health area as such, and to try to, you know, present all of us together? Because there are some difficulties. While I understand there is a lot of merit in it to go jointly, we also have obligations and responsibility to the users that we are serving, for example, to the Secretariat of the Stockholm Convention, and we can't just change it. We have to be distinctly, you know, be distinguishable in terms of what tools we have. If we show the Global Monitoring Plan Data Warehouse as a tool for the Stockholm Convention, it's fine. And of course, there has to be credit given to eShape. And there has to also be, you know, some connections to GOS4POPs initiative of GEO, but we can't go along only as under the eShape trademark. So this is where what we would like to understand a little bit more what you were saying. On the other hand, I think where we really feel the need to enlarge the usability is really towards the expert communities and modelers. Thank you.
If I may, Nicola?
Yes, go ahead, Evangelos.
I will start with the platform discussion, and then we'll go back to the users. And I'm also very glad that Heri has chosen our showcase so that we can have some questions directly to him. So, Katka, you are right. There are different dimensions about the platforms. So you are tied with the international convention, so it makes much sense for you and the pilot one that the priority is there. They are the main end users. So yes, maybe the visibility could be further enhanced if there could be, you know, a promotion of these platforms, or the methodology or the data through GEO's portal, for example, or any other, you know, instances where EO data, you know, are advertised for the different cases. That would be nice. The dimension I put was a little bit more technical. And it was technical because in eShape, we have brought together within the consortium, the different DSEs, we have brought together companies and partners that they have some technical expertise, and they have been developing platforms in the past, like NextGeos or whatever, in the same way that we have companies or partners that will help us with co-design, will help us with sustainability. So my question to Thierry and everybody is, how can we make use of those existing platforms, of the resources that those partners may have in eShape in order to develop a platform? Because as I said, in our cases, there are 5 different platforms that are built with own costs, own resources from eShape or other projects. But at the end of the day, we want to have a unique, one service. And for this one service, we need someone to construct, to create this common platform. How can we do that, Thierry? Could it be a proposal for the next call? Outcomers, like an IT company coming to build this off? Should it be from internal resources already technical partners have? Do you have any suggestion for our case?
Oh, difficult to answer to this question directly. I think showing what you so I have to, sorry, I should start my video. Looking to the discussion you are carried on, I see different type, in fact, in the showcase. I'm glad to see all the progress that are here. What I understand is first that we have the first pilot is really dedicated to something linked with the decision maker. I saw the extension about toward the expert community on the POPs, and in your presentation, Evangelos, I saw something that can become a commercial service in some way. And that's a place where we have to maybe to contribute as eShape. I think we can also contribute to the other one, of course, but I think in the case of your pilot, or it's difficult to say your pilot because there is many applications on that. The convergence will maybe come after the analysis that can be carried out in the different VP4 and 5 in terms of building a new vision of what you are going to proceed and the follow-up, in fact. Today, there is this different platforms that are in different place with different resources, and building a common one, I think we'll need also a lot of negotiation between all the partners of these different solutions in order to have a common view of the future. And that's only when you have built this common view that you can decide on how to do it. So maybe it could be a new project. Maybe it could be also to have the wish to go commercial for some of them, and so to have the support of the different team in a joint consortium or a joint venture. I don't know how to manage that for the moment, and that will be the expertise coming from Lev and his team, in my point of view. So that's really depending on the future. And so I think the next sprint will be focusing on this issue and trying to also construct the future. And I think that Marie-Françoise, which is here, is also listening the discussion, and I think she may have also some contribution on helping you on focusing on one specific way of organizing the whole. Marie-Françoise, if you want to add something on that. You have to unmute if you wish.
I guess Marie-Françoise is not...
Well, I have to admit that my sound is really poor, and so I have a hard time to react on the synthesis of what you say. I think I will have to listen again to the video. Apologies.
Oh, that's right. So maybe Sergio, it's your showcase, so please go on. That was your just an intervention.
What I can say here, I can add one more things, and I strongly support the view of Katka, because from our side, the user uptake goes not only on provision of this tool and the output of use of data, but also on feeding the system with new data. So this is the case of modeling runs. Because one thing that we have not said is that policymaker needs well-defined data, but in terms of uncertainty. So if you provide them data, they also need the uncertainty. In the field of mercury, there is a number of models that can be run, can provide different uncertainties. So user uptake in this case is to get output of these runs and feed the system.
Yeah, clearly, and also I think the discussion with the decision maker is key also on tuning the product. I will say the product, but that is the result of your tool in order to make it intelligible and understandable by them. We had this experience in one case with the EIA, and they have very good suggestion on the way to show the information at the end of the day. So that this interaction is key, I think, in the success of such a work. And so it's go back to co-design again.
Yeah. Fully agree.
Yeah, just to add on what has been said, you know, it certainly is a big challenge. At least, you know, for Pilot 1 on Mercury, the interaction with the UNEP, Minamata Convention, Secretariat, through the GEO flagship. We just had the meeting 2 weeks ago, as I said, and one thing that is clear, you cannot move data around. You know, all the observational data, especially in situ, but not only in situ, also satellite, that we use for testing and validating models. You know, usually you don't move data. You just use the data where they are for your validation purposes, because as we know, data are continuously updated with different QA/QC protocol, and so it doesn't make any sense to copy and paste the data somewhere else. You know, that was the old-fashioned approach. Now you get the data where they are, use it, and go on. Now, for the Pilot 1, of course, there is still in cooperation with also UNEP, but not only with the UNEP, in partnership that we are part of in Fate and Transport, we are preparing a global database on mercury in biota. That is the final biological endpoint to test and validate ecological models. So what Sergio was saying, you know, for the atmospheric component, we have 4 major numerical models that cannot, of course, be used by the end users because they require a lot of expertise. So what has been done is to run a number of simulation with the models and to store the output of these models in a database, and then we developed an emulator that put together all this output and allow end users to build the policy scenario curves in terms of emission reduction and the benefit in terms of input to ecosystem, and finally also to the exposure in food chain. So it's a quite complicated, you know, process that of course require a lot of expertise that you cannot find, end users to have. So the challenge is really to develop a dynamic, interactive interface that can really allow a good cooperation between the scientific component that runs these models to provide the output to end users to build their own scenario. That's why the cooperation with the policymaker to fix the policy scenario, how they should be built, and what type of, for example, emission perturbation experiment you have to run in your model that should be complying with the policy that you are referring to. So it's not really straightforward. It's quite complicated, but the challenge is really to make a product commercially available that can allow the interaction with the different working environment and the different communities. And that is the big challenge. I think the showcase in eShape can really provide a good contribution, at least in the way I see it. This is our goal. At the end, to have a product that can facilitate end users to use the best of knowledge available today on each of the pilot. Of course, if the product is commercially available, that can make also, you can make business out of it to create jobs and opportunity, why not? That would be fantastic, I would say.
Yeah, to go on this discussion, Nicolas, as you know, as we know all, that in eShape, not all the pilot will be at the end on the commercial side. So that I think that Mercury is in this case, and for the moment at least. Maybe there is something that can come derived from that on the commercial sides. But to give you a more easy way to understand my point of view about the link with the end user and with the decision maker, I will take the example we had in the environmental impact of PV systems. We built a demonstrator that was done only for decision makers, so there is no business behind that. On their impact when you are positioning it somewhere in the world. So this means that we need Earth observation, and we demonstrate, we calculate, and that's the parallel with the model on Mercury, all the life cycle assessment of the PV system. So that's technical background. But at the end of the day, when you're presenting that to the end user, they want to see what will be the impact on the energy mix of a panel or a solar farm that will be posed somewhere. And so that was their demand, to have this impact on the energy mix. That was not our first idea, but when they explain us how they are going to use it, they require on this. And so at the end of the day, that was a very simple add-on to have this additional information that make the data useful for them. And that's something like that that can be the key on the use of all your work, something which doesn't look like very difficult to handle and to put available on the result of what you are doing, and that will make the difference at the end of the day. But that's your expertise, and that's the expertise of the team, and the discussion you have in all the instances you are participating are really key on that. And I think you will find the best way of doing for having this success very clearly available at the end, for sure. And in the same way, in the Stockholm Convention, also there is certainly something which is very small to tune, and that will give an impact very easily to prove to all the decision maker and the expert community they are really reaching this kind of point. And in the previous work presented also by Evangelos, in my opinion, there is also a potential. I don't know how, because I have not all the elements in hands, and it's also a reflection that should be conducted by the team to go to something that will be useful for the citizen. There are contributing to, but they are also maybe interested in something that will be a product for them that will allow them to use it and to have really this user uptake and showing at the end of what we are doing that there is still need to continue to work on that with the end user to increase the number of users and to go to million, as Marie-Françoise used to say in her presentations in the last days. But maybe we monopolize the discussion, and it will be good to have also your discussion to prepare the report on the breakout. Nicolas, up to you now. You're mute.
Can't hear you, Nicola. You are muted.
Okay, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, thank you, Thierry, for your feedback, and very useful. I fully agree. You know, by the end of the project, also, you know, for the 3 pilot, I think they can provide some product that can be of commercial interest, and also, you know, one that I was talking about, the pilot on mercury, is a little bit more complex, but at the end, you know, the interaction with the private sector can allow a sustainability of the outcome of this pilot, because if you don't have the private sector to take care after the project ends, you know, it will be quite difficult to sustain this in the future, also in terms of supporting the policymaker and the users in using the product that we developed. So that's is the business model that we need to develop in order to make sure that there is a follow-up in everything that we are producing and developing now. So the same applies for the 3 pilots in general. So I'm quite confident that at least this is the goal, and I'm quite confident that we can make it in somehow. So if anybody else would like to add on further suggestions, feedback? Otherwise, we can reconvene for the plenary. I think that is scheduled at 12 to report from all session, I suppose.
Yes, that's the timing.
Okay, so I'd like to thank all of you that have been following our session and the interesting discussion that we had after the talks, and I will report, we prepared a few slides for reporting to the plenary from this session, so we will reconvene at 12 for the plenary session. So I would close the session now. Thank you.